The room was quiet. Not silent, just the kind of quiet that settles gently, like dust in a forgotten house. An old man sat by the window, wrapped in a soft wool blanket. Outside, the streetlight hummed faintly, casting a warm circle of amber light on the empty road. He did not look tired in the usual way. His eyes were open, calm, and unhurried, as if time itself had slowed down just for him. People in the town said he only spoke at night. No one knew why. During the day, he walked slowly, nodded politely, and smiled at passing strangers. But when the sun went down, when houses dimmed their lights and the world softened its edges, the old man would sit in his chair and begin to speak, quietly, gently, as if he were afraid of waking the stars. Tonight was no different. He took a slow breath, then another, each breath long and steady, like waves arriving on a distant shore. "If you're listening," he whispered, "you're exactly where you need to be." His voice was low, warm, and unhurried. It didn't ask for attention. It didn't demand anything. It simply invited you to stay. The clock on the wall ticked softly, but even that sound seemed tired, as if it might stop at any moment just to rest. The old man leaned back, the chair giving a quiet creak, and let his thoughts drift. He began to talk about small things, about the way the night air feels cooler near the window, about how shadows stretch longer when they're no longer being watched, about memories that don't knock loudly, but instead sit patiently until you're ready. His words moved slowly, one after another, never rushing, never pushing. Each sentence felt like a hand placed gently on your shoulder, reminding you that there was nowhere else to be. Somewhere far away, a car passed. Somewhere closer, a house settled with a soft sigh. And right here, in this moment, everything felt manageable. The old man paused, not because he was finished, but because pauses mattered. They gave the mind space to soften. They gave thoughts permission to drift away. "Sleep," he murmured almost to himself, "is not something you chase. It comes when you stop running." His eyes slowly closed. Not fully, just enough to rest. The light from the street lamp traced the lines of his face, lines earned through years of patience, waiting, and quiet understanding. This was only the beginning. There were many nights ahead, many gentle words still waiting to be spoken, and no hurry at all. For now, the night was listening. And so were you. The old man did not rush into his next words. He waited, not because he had forgotten what to say, but because silence was part of the story. Silence had weight. It had shape. And in the quiet of the room, it rested comfortably, like a familiar companion. The house around him seemed to breathe. Not loudly, not noticeably, just enough to be felt. The wooden floor made a soft sound as it cooled. The walls held the warmth of the day, releasing it slowly, patiently, as if they too were preparing for sleep. Somewhere deep inside the house, a pipe clicked once, then settled. The old man opened his eyes again. "You might notice," he said gently, "that your thoughts are beginning to slow." He did not ask if they were. He already knew. Thoughts always slowed here. He spoke about the house as if it were alive, about how it had seen many nights like this one. Nights where worries arrived loudly but left quietly. Nights where nothing needed to be solved. He rested one hand on the arm of his chair, fingers relaxed, unmoving. "Long ago," he continued, "this house learned something important." His voice lowered, not for drama, but for comfort. It learned that everything passes, even the long nights, even the heavy thoughts. Outside, the streetlight flickered once, then steadied. Its glow softened the edges of the room, blurring corners, easing sharp lines into gentle shadows. The old man described simple memories. A cup of tea cooling on a table, a book left open, forgotten mid-page, footsteps that no longer hurried anywhere. Each image appeared slowly, then faded just as slowly, like clouds drifting across a quiet sky. If your mind wandered, that was fine. If it stayed, that was fine too. Nothing was required. The old man leaned his head back slightly, eyes half closed now, his breathing deep and even. You could almost feel your own breath matching his without trying. In and out. In this hour, he whispered, there is nothing you need to carry. The words did not push. They released. Your shoulders felt heavier, not with tension, but with rest. The kind of heaviness that comes just before sleep, when the body finally remembers how to let go. The clock continued its soft ticking, but it no longer measured time. It measured calm. The old man smiled faintly. There will be more to tell, he said, barely above a breath, but not all at once. Because the night was patient. And so was he. And slowly, without effort, the house breathed again. Steady. Quiet. Ready for whatever dreams might arrive next. The old man did not move for a long moment. He allowed the quiet to finish its sentence. Because silence, when respected, always speaks back. The chair beneath him creaked softly as he adjusted his weight, not out of restlessness, but comfort. The kind of comfort that comes when the body knows it is safe, when it knows it does not need to stay alert anymore. You may feel, he said slowly, as though the room is listening. And it was. The walls held his voice gently, letting it settle instead of bounce. The ceiling above seemed farther away now, as if space itself had decided to relax. Outside, a distant car passed and disappeared, leaving behind nothing but the memory of sound. Even that memory faded quickly. The old man spoke of nights like this one. Nights that did not demand anything. Nights that did not hurry. Nights that welcomed tired minds without asking questions. He described how long ago, people trusted the dark more than they feared it. How they believed the night was not empty, but full of rest, full of quiet repair. His voice slowed further, stretching each word just enough to be felt, not analyzed. In the dark, he said, nothing is expected of you. Your breathing deepened naturally, without instruction. Each breath seemed to arrive on its own, smooth and unforced, like waves finding the shore. The old man placed both feet flat on the floor, grounding himself, though he hardly needed to. He had been grounded for years. There is a moment, he continued, when the mind stops searching. He did not explain how. He did not need to. Because the mind, when tired enough, understands exactly when to stop. Images drifted gently through the air between his words. A window left slightly open. Curtains moving just enough to show the night beyond. A sky wide and dark and endlessly patient. Your thoughts began to loosen their grip, one by one. They did not disappear. They simply softened like knots slowly undoing themselves. The old man's voice lowered again. If sleep comes, he said, let it come. No pressure. No goal. No countdown. The clock's ticking blended into the background until it no longer sounded like time passing, but like something steady and dependable. He smiled, though you could hear it more than see it. The night, he whispered, knows what to do. And as his words drifted into the quiet, the room seemed to settle even deeper, as if everything, walls, air, thoughts, and breath, had agreed together. This was the right place to rest. The old man paused again. Not because he had forgotten what to say, but because the pause itself was doing the work now. Silence wrapped around the room like a blanket that fit perfectly. No edges, no weight, just warmth. His breathing remained slow and steady, and without realizing it, yours followed. There is a place, he said softly, between waking and sleeping. His voice floated there easily, as if it belonged in that space. It is not a place you need to find, he continued. It finds you. The chair beneath him gave a gentle sound as he leaned back slightly. Wood meeting wood. A sound so familiar it barely registered, yet comforting in its certainty. He spoke of evenings that stretch endlessly, where time stops measuring and starts resting, where minutes no longer stack on top of each other, but spread out like calm water. You may notice, he said, that your thoughts are no longer lined up. They wandered now, slower, softer. A thought would appear, linger briefly, then drift away, unfinished, unimportant, and completely allowed to go. The old man described a long road at night, empty and quiet, stretching under a dark sky. No destination, no need to arrive, just the gentle rhythm of moving forward without effort. Your shoulders eased further down, as if gravity itself had grown kinder. The muscles around your eyes relaxed, smoothing out tiny tensions you didn't know you were holding. Nothing needs solving, he reminded gently. His words carried no instruction, only permission. The room felt larger now, yet safer, as though the darkness had expanded just to give your mind more space to settle. Even the smallest sounds, the faint hum of electricity, the distant whisper of the outside world, blended into a single soothing backdrop. He spoke more quietly now, not because he was fading, but because volume was no longer necessary. When the body knows it is heard, he said, it rests. Breath followed breath in a slow, natural rhythm. Each exhale seemed longer than the last, carrying away whatever remained of the day. The old man allowed another pause. This one deeper, longer, comfortable. You are doing nothing, he said at last. And that, he added softly, is enough. The night leaned closer, patient and calm. Thoughts loosened further, their edges dissolving. The space between moments widened, inviting stillness to settle fully. And somewhere within that quiet, without effort or awareness, rest began to take root. The old man did not rush his next words. He waited until the silence felt complete on its own. Then, in that stillness, his voice returned. Slower now, lower, like it was meant only for you. Every day, he said, leaves a weight. Not a heavy one, just enough to be noticed. A weight behind the eyes, a weight in the shoulders, a quiet pressure that builds without asking permission. But night, he continued, knows how to lift it. He spoke of evenings where nothing more is expected, where the world stops demanding answers and simply allows you to exist as you are. As he spoke, it became easier to feel where the body met the surface beneath it. The chair, the bed, the floor. Whatever held you now felt steady and reliable, as if it had always been there for this moment. Let the weight move downward, the old man suggested gently. Not pushed. Not forced, just allowed. Each breath out seemed to carry a small piece of the day away. A thought you no longer needed. A worry that had lost its shape. An unfinished sentence that no longer mattered. The space inside your chest softened. The old man described a quiet house late at night. Lights dimmed, rooms resting, hallways empty but safe. Nothing waiting. Nothing missing. Notice, he said, how the body understands before the mind does. Your jaw loosened slightly. Your tongue rested easily. Even your hands felt heavier now, fingers relaxed, palms open. He paused again, letting the moment settle fully before continuing. Sleep is not something you chase, he said. It is something that arrives when there is room. And now there was room. Thoughts came less often, and when they did, they felt distant, like sounds from another building, muted and unimportant. The old man's voice blended with the quiet, no longer separate from it. You do not need to listen closely, he added. Just hearing is enough. The darkness around you felt thick but gentle, like a curtain drawn slowly across a window. It did not rush. It did not surprise. Breathing deepened naturally, in and out, smooth and unbroken. The body, reassured by stillness, began to let go in places you hadn't realized were holding on. The night stretched wide and calm, offering nothing but rest. And somewhere between one breath and the next, the weight of the day continued to fade. The old man did not change his position. He didn't need to. Stillness had already done the work for him. His voice returned gently, as if it had been there the entire time, waiting for the right moment to be noticed. "The mind," he said softly, "is very good at working. It plans, it remembers, it repeats things long after they have stopped being useful. But tonight," he continued, "it doesn't need to do any of that." The words did not ask for effort. They simply settled, like dust drifting down after movement has ended. It became easier to notice how thoughts were arriving now, slower, farther apart. Some didn't finish forming at all. They faded halfway, losing interest in being complete. The old man described a quiet lake at night. No wind, no ripples. The surface smooth enough to reflect the sky without distortion. "Your mind can be like that," he said. "Not empty, just undisturbed." Breathing found a deeper rhythm. In and out. Each breath felt slightly longer than the one before, not by intention, but by comfort. The muscles around the eyes softened, the forehead smoothed, as if it had forgotten how to hold tension. The old man paused again, long enough for the silence to feel alive. "Nothing needs your attention right now," he reminded gently. "There is nowhere else you need to be." The body responded first. Shoulders settled lower. The chest rose and fell without effort. Even the legs felt heavier, warmer, more grounded. Thoughts that once felt important now seemed distant, like stories overheard in another room, recognizable but no longer yours to follow. The darkness felt closer, not closing in, but wrapping around gently, like a blanket placed with care. The old man's voice grew softer, slower, almost blending with your own breathing. "If a thought appears," he said, "you don't need to push it away. Just let it pass, like a cloud drifting across the night sky, seen for a moment, then gone." There was comfort in knowing nothing would be asked of you next. No decisions, no remembering, no effort. Just this quiet stretch of time, where rest is allowed to arrive on its own. Breathing continued. Steady, deep, unhurried. And as the mind learned that it was safe to rest, silence grew richer, heavier, kinder. The old man did not speak right away. Silence arrived first. Not the empty kind, but the kind that feels intentional, as if it knows exactly why it is here. Breathing continued on its own. In, out. Each breath moved through the body like a slow tide, rising and falling without resistance. There was no need to guide it anymore. The body had remembered how to breathe for rest. "When the mind slows," the old man finally said, "it begins to listen instead of talk." His voice felt farther away now, not because it was leaving, but because attention no longer needed to hold on to it tightly. Thoughts became softer shapes. Edges blurred. Details loosened. Somewhere between one breath and the next, the space between moments grew wider. Time no longer moved forward in a straight line. It stretched gently, like a long, quiet road with no signs. The old man described a dimly lit room at night. Curtains drawn, a single lamp glowing low. Nothing inside the room asking to be touched or changed. "This is where your mind can rest," he said. "Not asleep yet, just quiet enough to stop searching." The muscles in the neck released tension they didn't realize they were holding. The jaw loosened. The tongue rested naturally, no longer pressing or waiting. Even the eyes, closed or heavy, felt as if they were sinking backward, away from effort. Another pause. Longer this time. During the silence, the mind did not rush to fill the space. It stayed still, curious but calm. "If a memory appears," the old man whispered, "let it drift. No need to explore it. No need to understand it. Just allow it to move on, like a leaf floating past on dark water." The body felt warmer now, heavier, as if gravity had increased slightly, but only enough to feel secure. Breathing slowed further. In. Out! Each exhale carried away something unnecessary. A thought, a question, a quiet tension that had been held all day without reason. The old man's voice softened again, almost blending into the silence. "You are not trying to sleep," he reminded gently. "You are allowing rest, and rest, when invited, always knows how to arrive." The darkness felt smooth, continuous, without breaks or corners. Nothing needed attention. Nothing needed effort. Only this slow, steady drifting. Deeper, and deeper still. There was no clear moment when drifting began. It happened quietly. So quietly that the mind did not notice the shift, only the absence of effort that followed. The old man remained present, but his voice now felt like part of the room itself, not something separate that needed attention. Words arrived slower, softer, as if they were choosing the gentlest path to reach you. "Sometimes," he said, "the mind relaxes best when it is not asked to go anywhere." Breathing moved deeper into the body now. Not wider, deeper. Each inhale settled lower, each exhale carried weight downward, toward the earth. The shoulders softened further, sliding away from the ears. The arms felt distant, pleasantly heavy, as if resting on warm sand. Fingers no longer held shape. They simply existed. Nothing needed holding anymore. The old man described a long, quiet stretch of night. No stars demanding attention, no moon calling for thought. Just a dark sky that felt complete as it was. "In this darkness," he whispered, "nothing is missing." Thoughts tried to appear once or twice, but they dissolved before forming words. They became sensations instead, warmth, calm, gentle pressure, then faded entirely. Time slowed until it no longer felt useful. Seconds lost meaning. Minutes softened. There was only this steady pause expanding slowly outward. The chest rose. The chest fell. Each breath felt familiar, like returning to a rhythm the body remembered from long ago, before worry, before urgency, before days were measured by clocks. The old man paused again. Not to create suspense, not to test patience, only because silence was doing the work now. In that silence, the mind loosened its grip on awareness. Attention drifted inward, then downward, then nowhere in particular. "If you notice yourself floating," his voice returned softly, "do not anchor yourself. Let the drifting continue." The body felt supported from every side, beneath, around, within, as if rest itself had hands, gently holding everything in place. Breathing became almost unnoticeable. In, out, no beginning, no end, just motion without direction. The darkness grew deeper, not heavier, not thicker, but calmer, like still water settling after a ripple. Nothing waited ahead, nothing pulled from behind. Only this gentle suspension, and within it, a quiet surrender to rest. Nothing needed to change for rest to deepen. It happened on its own. Awareness did not disappear. It softened, like light dimming in a room that had already become comfortable. The old man's presence felt closer now, yet quieter, as if his voice were coming from inside the same calm space you were resting in. "There is a place," he said gently, "where noticing becomes unnecessary." Breathing continued, steady and slow, but the mind no longer followed it. The body breathed itself without instruction. The jaw loosened further. The tongue rested. The space behind the eyes grew warm and still. Thoughts no longer arrived in sentences. They appeared as faint impressions, shapes without edges, then faded before forming meaning. The old man spoke of a wide field at night, not to imagine, but to feel. A field where nothing moved. No wind, no sound. Just space, open, patient, and completely safe. In this space, his voice softened even more. You are not required to be alert. Muscles released in layers now. The kind of release that feels like sinking without falling. Knees softened. Hips grew heavy. The spine felt gently supported from its base to the back of the head. The sense of the room faded. Walls no longer mattered. Distance lost relevance. There was only the body resting, and the awareness resting with it. Time thinned again. Moments stretched without effort, like slow clouds dissolving into the night sky. Nothing asked to be tracked. Nothing needed to be remembered. The old man paused, longer this time. Silence spread comfortably, like a blanket laid gently across thought. In that silence, attention drifted downward toward the center of the body, where calm felt deepest. A place without language, without questions. If you feel yourself slipping, his voice returned softly, there is no need to hold on. Let slipping happen. The breath grew even quieter now, barely stirring the chest. Each exhale carried a subtle letting go, as if the body were releasing the last traces of effort it had been holding all day. Nothing pulled you back. Nothing asked you to stay awake. The mind rested in the space between breaths. In that space, everything felt settled. No urgency. No direction. No need. Just a gentle, continuous ease. And within that ease, rest deepened again. The moment did not end. It simply widened. Rest no longer felt like something happening. It felt like the natural state everything was returning to. The old man's presence became even softer now, almost blending into the quiet itself. There was nothing to follow anymore. No voice to focus on. No image to hold, only a gentle awareness floating without edges. The body felt heavier but not tense. Heavy in the way a blanket feels heavy, comforting, steady, completely safe. Arms rested exactly where they needed to be. Legs sank into stillness, supported without effort. Breathing was barely noticeable now. Not shallow, just quiet. As if the body had learned the most efficient way to breathe and chose it instinctively. Each exhale carried a sense of completion. Nothing left undone. Nothing waiting. The old man spoke again, but his words felt more like reminders than instructions. Let the mind do what it does best now, he said softly. Let it rest. Thoughts did not disappear suddenly. They slowed first. Then they spaced themselves farther apart, like distant lights turning off one by one, until the darkness felt smooth and uninterrupted. Awareness drifted lower, out of the head, out of the chest, settling somewhere deep and quiet where sensations became simple. Warmth, heaviness, stillness. The sense of time loosened again. Seconds no longer lined up in order. They overlapped, blended, lost their meaning. You might have noticed moments of almost sleep, where awareness dips, then gently returns. There was no need to correct this. No need to stay alert. The old man paused again. Silence held everything without effort. In that silence, the body made small adjustments on its own, tiny releases, subtle shifts, each one bringing deeper comfort. Muscles softened that you didn't even realize were holding tension. The face smoothed. The space between the eyebrows relaxed completely. Even the thoughts about resting faded away. There was nothing to monitor, nothing to manage, only this calm spreading outward, inward, everywhere at once. If sleep comes, the old man whispered, almost as if speaking to himself, let it take you gently. No resistance, no holding back, just a quiet permission to drift. And as that permission settled in, awareness became lighter, thinner, quieter, like a leaf floating on still water, not moving forward, not moving back, just resting. Nothing needed to change. That was the feeling now. The quiet had settled so deeply that even the idea of resting felt unnecessary. Rest was no longer an action. it was simply what existed. The old man remained nearby, not as a figure to watch, but as a calm presence, steady and unhurried. His silence felt intentional, protective, like someone sitting beside you to make sure nothing disturbs your peace. The body sank further into stillness, not downward, not inward, just deeper. The edges of awareness softened. Where the body ended and the space around it began no longer felt important. Everything blended into one gentle, comfortable sensation. Breathing continued, but it felt distant now, like a sound coming from another room. Each breath rose and fell without effort, without instruction. Exhale by exhale, the mind loosened its grip. Thoughts tried to appear, but they arrived already tired, already fading. They had no energy left to form shapes or stories. They dissolved before becoming anything at all. The old man's voice returned, slow and low. "You don't need to listen anymore," he said. "Just rest." The words did not ask for attention. They simply passed through, leaving behind a deeper quiet. Time stretched thin. Moments overlapped gently, like waves smoothing sand. There was no clear beginning to this moment and no clear end. Only presence. A deep, steady presence. The body felt safe in a way that required no explanation. Muscles rested fully now, supported by the surface beneath you, supported by the earth itself. Nothing was holding you up. Nothing needed to. Even the idea of sleep began to soften. There was no pressure to fall asleep, no expectation. If sleep came, it would arrive quietly like a familiar friend. If it didn't, this rest was already enough. The old man shifted slightly, the sound barely noticeable. "You've done enough for today," he said softly. "Everything can wait." Those words settled somewhere deep. Responsibilities loosened, concerns faded. Tomorrow became unimportant. The mind drifted lower still, below thought, below memory, into a space where only calm existed. In that space, awareness felt wide and gentle, like a slow-moving river with no destination. Nothing to follow, nothing to resist. Just drifting, just resting, just being. And the quiet beneath everything held you there, steady, warm, and completely undisturbed. The air was neither heavy nor light. It simply existed, carrying nothing but the soft rhythm of the world. Each sound was muted, softened by distance, as if the night itself had lowered its voice to avoid disturbing this calm. The old man's eyes, half closed, seemed to notice everything without really looking. There was no urgency in his gaze. Nothing was pressing. The world felt paused, suspended in a gentle balance. Fingers rested lightly on the blanket, palms open, shoulders unburdened. Every small detail of the body seemed aware of its support, the invisible hands of care holding each part in place. Somewhere far off, a faint rustle of leaves might have happened, but it didn't matter. It became part of the rhythm instead of a distraction. Even sounds that could have startled were welcomed as soft notes in the song of stillness. Breathing grew even more effortless. Not measured, not counted, just a natural motion rising and falling with a quiet certainty. Inhale, exhale, exhale, and in between, nothing. No tension, no thought, only presence. The old man's voice returned lower this time, more like a vibration than words. "Let go," he whispered. "Let everything go." No instruction was required. The words were not commands. They were a gentle acknowledgement, a permission to sink deeper, to drift without intention or concern. The night continued its slow embrace. Shadows leaned closer, merging with the darkness around. Shapes lost their meaning. Trees became shapes again. Stones became shapes again. The ground became shapes again. Everything simplified, leaving space for nothing but stillness. Thoughts tried to arrive like distant travelers, but each was met with the soft resistance of this calm. They slowed, blinked, and dissolved before forming fully. There was nothing to chase, nothing to hold. The body understood the stillness better than the mind. Muscles loosened one by one. Joints relaxed. The spine sank slightly into its support, comfort stretching from head to toes. Even time felt different. It no longer marched forward. There was no ticking, no minutes or hours, only the quiet, measured expansion of presence. "You are safe," the old man said again, a soft reassurance floating in the calm. "No one needs anything from you right now. Nothing is missing." And in that space, the quiet did not press. It did not pull. It simply held everything together, holding, not pushing, supporting, not demanding. A gentle warmth spread through the body, warmth that didn't originate from heat alone, but from understanding, from being recognized, from the knowledge that for now all was exactly as it should be. The night held you. The old man held the night, and the night held him. Layers of care, invisible and infinite, creating a cradle of comfort. There was no need to move, no need to adjust, no need to think. Only this moment, pure and undisturbed. And with every breath, every gentle pulse, the world became quieter still. Not silent, not empty. The darkness did not frighten. It simply existed, patient and knowing. Shadows folded softly, forming gentle patterns too calm to name. The old man remained on the bench, his body light yet present. He did not move, yet seemed to glide, carried by the calm around him. Each breath became a tide, rising and falling in harmony with the silent night. A faint wind touched the trees, brushing leaves ever so lightly. Even this soft movement felt like a lullaby. Thoughts appeared like tiny sparks, flickering, fading into the background, never demanding attention. No tension, no pull, only presence. The old man's hands lay open in his lap, fingers curved slightly, relaxed. Each hand understood its weight, resting without effort. No need to grasp, only to exist. Breathing became the rhythm. In and out, a tide without measure. Every cell, every muscle, every thought floated freely, unpressured. "Let the night take you," he whispered. "Nothing to chase, nothing to fear. Only this calm, only this quiet." Even distant sounds, a far-off dog, a soft branch crack, blended into the stillness. Nothing too loud, nothing sudden. Everything part of the night's lullaby. Time stretched like a ribbon. Minutes blended, hours unneeded. Nothing demanded attention, nothing required memory. Only being fully held, fully supported, fully safe. The bench beneath him was more than wood, a bridge between earth and sky, self and night. His body molded gently, his mind softening, slowing, melting. A single leaf fell. It whispered to the ground, not to disturb. Small events became lessons. Nothing must be rushed. Everything could exist in quiet dignity. "Sleep is here," he murmured. "It has always been here, waiting." The world breathed in the same slow, measured rhythm. Shadows lengthened, shapes softened. The air thickened with calm, present, patient. He did not chase sleep. Sleep came quietly, brushing past consciousness like a feather. He opened to it, floating down a silent stream, carried, unafraid. The night held him, the bench held him, and the world, soft, patient, endless, remained completely at rest. Each moment unmeasured, each breath part of the infinite quiet, every cell, thought, shadow, sound, all fused into one gentle, enveloping calm. Now sleep blossomed quietly, invisibly, yet utterly real, a soft tide carrying the old man further into the calm, deeper into the gentle unknown. Night had settled like a soft blanket. Stars twinkled faintly, their gentle light touching the world quietly. The air carried no urgency, only the soft hum of life moving slowly, unnoticed yet present. The old man sat on the bench, unmoving yet aware beyond thought. His eyes, half closed, reflected starlight, calm and weightless. He did not think or plan. He simply existed, part of the night's rhythm. Each breath became a wave, rising and falling in harmony with the world. He felt it in his chest, arms, and fingertips. The bench held him effortlessly. The earth beneath held everything. Layers of support stretched downward endlessly, comforting and absolute. Leaves on nearby trees barely moved, yet he sensed them breathing. A soft wind whispered past, stirring nothing aggressively, only brushing the world lightly. Every sound, the rustle of an animal, a branch creaking, the forest's sigh, blended into a single serene melody, gentle and patient. He did not chase thoughts. They came and went, sparks fading into quiet. No urgency, no alarm, no need to hold, only awareness. Each moment stretched, timeless yet immediate, rich yet unobtrusive. The path ahead, barely visible, seemed longer and simpler. A path without a destination had no weight, no hurry. Shapes and shadows softened, forming patterns in the night's quiet story. He sank into the rhythm. Each exhale released wakefulness. Each inhale drew in calm. No rush, no demand. Only the river of stillness flowing endlessly, carrying him effortlessly. A distant owl called softly, fading into the night. Somewhere far away, a stream whispered over stones, motion unseen yet deeply felt. Even the stars pulsed in rhythm with the quiet, connecting sky and earth, mind and body. His hands rested loosely in his lap, fingers relaxed, palms open. Every muscle, every cell participated in the gentle harmony, tuned perfectly to the night's rhythm. Time stretched outward like a river widening into a lake. Each moment expanded, each second unmeasured, each breath intimate, containing all that mattered. Shadows deepened, soft and velvety, protective. The night no longer pressed. It did not demand. It simply existed, fully present, fully encompassing, fully alive. A single leaf drifted down, landing softly. Its quiet arrival mirrored his descent into rest, subtle and patient. Every movement, sound, and breath joined the endless stream, a river of calm stretching beyond sight, thought, and time. He floated in it, suspended between wakefulness and sleep. No struggle, no resistance. Only this: the bench, the night, the calm, the slow river carrying him into a deeper, softer state of being. The river flowed endlessly, carrying shadows, stars, leaves, sounds, and breath. He became one with its motion, patience, and rhythm. Here, in the heart of night, in the river of calm, nothing else was needed. Everything was enough. Everything was exactly as it should be. The old man breathed. The night flowed. The river of calm carried. The night deepened, folding the world into gentle darkness. The old man remained on the bench, a quiet presence amidst the whispering woods. Every leaf, every branch, every shadow seemed to lean closer, inviting him into a slower rhythm, a softer awareness. Beneath him, the earth was steady, unchanging. The bench held him effortlessly, as if it had always known he would come. He did not shift, did not fidget. His body had learned stillness. His mind had learned absence. The air carried faint scents of pine and damp soil. A breeze passed silently, barely touching his cheeks, yet it carried a message: patience. No hurry, no requirement, only existence. Somewhere beyond the trees, an unseen creek trickled, the sound subtle, persistent, soothing. It wove through the darkness like a soft thread, connecting moments, breaths, and thoughts into a quiet, flowing tapestry. His breathing matched it, steady and unhurried. Each inhale drew in calm. Each exhale released tension. Nothing intruded. Nothing demanded. The rhythm was simple, infinite, perfect. The shadows around him shifted imperceptibly, forming shapes that were not shapes, only suggestions, gentle hints of life in the woods. No creature approached, none needed to. The night was complete in itself. Thoughts drifted in and out, faint, fleeting, dissolving before they could form. He did not follow them. He did not resist. They were like small leaves on the creek, passing, flowing, unnoticed yet acknowledged. Even the stars seemed to lean lower, touching the tips of the trees, sprinkling silver across the ground. Light and dark merged seamlessly. He could no longer tell where one ended and the other began. Time, if it still existed, had lost its shape. Minutes stretched like the branches overhead. Seconds whispered like the wind through the leaves. There was no past asking for attention, no future waiting impatiently, only now, full and unbroken. His hands rested gently on his lap. Fingers relaxed, palms warm, muscles unbound, heart steady. Everything breathed together, man, bench, earth, trees, night. A single pulse, slow and quiet, holding all that existed. A leaf fell softly, landing without sound, a gentle punctuation. Somewhere, far away, a bird called, fading into the distance. Even the smallest sound was part of the river, part of the calm. He became part of it too. Not separate, not observing, just existing, breathing, resting, floating in the soft cadence of the woods. Each moment was a note in a symphony of stillness. The night did not hurry. The night did not stop. It simply held him. He held nothing. Nothing needed to be held. Only this, whispering woods, steady bench, flowing breaths, the quiet river of night. All was exactly as it should be. No thought, no plan, no demand, only calm, only presence, only the gentle pulse of life, holding him softly, perfectly, endlessly. The old man breathed, the woods whispered, and the night carried them both, timeless, infinite, serene. The first hint of dawn approached, though it remained unseen. The night was gentle, protective, and the old man stayed on the bench, neither fully awake nor asleep. Every breath was calm, effortless. Each inhale brought the wood's scent. Each exhale released what was unneeded. The trees stood like silent guardians, shadows stretching, blending with the slow rhythm of time. A faint rustle, a deer or a fox, passed in the distance. It was neither startling nor urgent, simply part of the night's fabric. The old man did not turn. Everything belonged where it was. The air cooled, carrying damp leaves and dew. Mist hovered near the forest floor, softening shapes, blurring edges as if the world itself breathed gently. His hands rested on his knees, fingers loose. The bench held him effortlessly. Muscles relaxed, heart quiet, mind free. There was no need to move or think, only being remained. A creek's faint melody threaded through the woods, connecting shadow to shadow, breath to breath. Time felt different, not in minutes or hours, but in gentle pulses, felt rather than counted. Thoughts drifted like leaves on water, appearing, floating, then leaving. No attachment, no resistance, only flow, only peace. A soft bird call sounded, brief and fleeting. It merged with rustling leaves, the subtle movement of air, and the quiet rhythm of life. Even the stars above the mist shone softly. Dawn approached, yet darkness lingered. The old man welcomed both night and day, balancing the two. His eyes slightly opened, reflecting calm, presence, acceptance. The forest, bench, night, and he, all intertwined in stillness. No past called, no future pressed, only the now, complete and infinite. Every shadow, sound, and breath was a note in the symphony of quiet. The first sunlight touched leaf tips far above, soft and delicate. Mist glowed faintly, reflecting subtle colors. A new day began, slowly and silently. The old man exhaled, letting his mind drift, rest, and merge with the woods. Time had lost meaning. Moments simply existed, and he, in the center, breathed, rested, and simply was. The stillness did not break. It gently widened. The old man remained where he was, yet something inside him had loosened further, like a knot finally remembering it was never meant to be tight. His shoulders settled a fraction lower. His breath moved without effort, rising and falling as if the body itself had taken over the quiet work of living. The night felt warmer now, not in temperature but in tone. Darkness was no longer something that surrounded him. It felt more like something that accepted him, the kind of darkness that does not hide things but rests with them. Somewhere beyond the trees, the world continued its distant routines. Roads existed, lights glowed, people slept, woke, and slept again. None of it asked anything from him. That distance was comforting. Knowing life could continue without participation made rest feel allowed. The bench beneath him held steady, unchanged, reliable. Wood against cloth, gravity doing its simple job. There was nothing dramatic in that support, and that was exactly why it worked. The most dependable things never announced themselves. His thoughts, when they appeared, were softer now. They arrived without stories attached, just small impressions. A sense of evening air, the memory of light through leaves, the feeling of sitting somewhere familiar, even if the place itself could not be named. He did not try to follow any of it. Each impression drifted through, then moved on like clouds passing without needing to become weather. The mind was learning to watch without reaching, to notice without collecting. Breath moved lower in the body, slower, deeper, not forced, just naturally unhurried, as if time itself had decided there was no reason to rush anymore. The old man's face remained calm, not because he was trying to relax, but because there was nothing left to react to. No tension calling for attention, no problem asking to be solved, only presence, simple and complete. The night continued to hold its shape. Trees stood where they stood, shadows stayed where they belonged. Even silence felt structured, layered, intentional, not empty, balanced. Inside that balance, rest spread further. It moved through his arms, down to his hands, through his chest, across his back, into places that rarely noticed they were tired. Everything softened together, as if the body remembered how to rest all at once. There was no signal to sleep yet, and no reason to stay awake, just this steady pause between effort and release, between movement and stillness. And the pause felt safe. The night did not ask him to go anywhere, so he stayed, quietly, easily. The night's quiet stretched on like a soft blanket, unbroken, infinite. The old man remained seated on the bench, not because he needed to, but because nothing else demanded attention. Here, every small sound, The distant rustle of leaves, the soft sigh of wind through branches, was noticed but not captured. They moved past him like gentle shadows on water. Time itself seemed suspended. The ticking, the turning, the rushing of hours, none of it mattered anymore. There was only the now, vast and gentle. Each breath he drew felt more like a wave washing over him than a simple mechanical action. His lungs expanded and released naturally, effortlessly, in rhythm with the unseen flow of night around him. Somewhere, far away, a soft glow hinted at life continuing beyond his space. A light in a window, a faint hum of distant cars. But those traces of the world outside never reached him. They were observed and then allowed to continue, unimportant to this singular, quiet experience. The bench beneath him carried the weight of his body without protest. The earth beneath it remained solid, grounding him. Even the air seemed steady, calm, not seeking to move. This unity, this simple support, became a quiet meditation in itself. It was a reminder. Everything rests on something else, and everything is held, even when unseen. Thoughts, when they arrived, were brief, almost playful. A fragment of memory of a long-forgotten street. A flicker of laughter from a friend. None of it demanded attachment. They floated through and moved on. The old man no longer tried to grasp or push them away. He simply observed their gentle drift. His hands rested loosely on his knees, fingers slightly curved, palms open. There was no need for motion. The body, he realized, knew the language of stillness better than the mind. Each small joint, each muscle, each tendon understood balance without thought. The sky above was no longer distant. It had become a part of the space around him. Darkness was not oppressive. It was a presence, a companion, soft and steady. The stars, faint yet clear, did not compete with him or ask for attention. They existed in quiet solidarity with everything beneath them. He felt a warmth settle in his chest, a calm that wasn't sought or created. It had simply arrived. It expanded subtly, radiating outward, touching his shoulders, his arms, down to his hands and through his legs. Every part of him that had ever carried tension was slowly being released. No past intruded, no future called, just this moment, unbroken, unhurried, complete. And he realized, in that realization, that he had never truly known rest until now. Complete. Entire, uninterrupted. The night deepened, wrapping the world in a quiet, infinite embrace. The old man remained on the bench, each breath steady, unhurried, as if the very rhythm of his lungs was in sync with the soft pulse of the night itself. Around him, shadows stretched and folded into one another, forming shapes that were never frightening, only quietly profound. His eyes, half closed, traced the faint outlines of trees and branches, but he no longer needed to see. Everything that mattered was already felt. The gentle press of the air on his skin, the subtle shift of temperature, the faint scent of earth and leaves. Each sensation was amplified by the absence of distraction, and yet none of it demanded attention. Somewhere in the distance, the faint glow of a lantern flickered, a reminder that life moved onward beyond this small clearing. Yet here, in this moment, those lights were distant curiosities, not calls to action. They belonged to the world, not to him. He remained seated, anchored, held by the quiet strength of the earth and the bench beneath him. Thoughts arrived like drifting clouds, soft and slow. A memory of a long-forgotten path, a laugh shared decades ago, a song sung softly in another place. They came, lingered for a heartbeat, and moved on. He did not chase them. He did not resist. They were transient, like the gentle rustle of leaves above or the faint movement of air through the branches. His hands rested naturally on his lap, fingers slightly curled, palms open to the night. Every muscle in his body seemed to understand the meaning of stillness. Even the smallest joints, the tiniest fibers, knew how to release tension without thought, without effort. The darkness above no longer felt like an absence. It was a presence, soft even, encompassing. The sky had become a gentle ceiling, embracing everything beneath it. Stars twinkled faintly, not demanding notice, simply existing alongside him in shared quietude. A warmth spread through his chest, subtle and unspoken. It flowed down his arms, into his hands, through his legs, grounding him in a calm that had no need to be named. There was no past pressing in, no future waiting to be met. Only this infinite, unbroken now. Time itself seemed to bend, not moving forward, but pooling gently around him, filling the spaces between each breath, each blink, each thought. Moments rested side by side, each complete in itself, requiring no sequence, no label. The bench beneath him felt like an extension of the earth. The earth felt like an extension of the night. The night felt like an extension of his own quiet heartbeat. He was not alone, yet profoundly solitary. And in that solitude, he discovered a peace that was neither earned nor sought, but simply present. It flowed through him, steady, deep, complete. Everything was held. Everything was still. Everything was exactly as it needed to be. And in that realization, he smiled softly, though no one was there to see it. The night rested quietly around him, not moving forward, not pulling back. It simply existed, calm and unhurried. The old man sat where he was, his body relaxed, his breathing slow and gentle, as if the air itself was guiding him. Each breath came softly, then left just as softly. There was no effort in it, no need to control it. The body knew exactly what to do. The bench beneath him felt steady and warm. It held him without asking anything in return. His shoulders loosened. His hands rested peacefully on his knees. Even the smallest tension began to fade, like a memory losing its shape. The trees nearby stood quietly, their dark outlines blending into the night. They did not move. They did not whisper. They simply stood, patient and calm, sharing their stillness with the world around them. Time no longer felt important. Minutes did not line up. Seconds did not matter. Everything slowed into a single, gentle moment that did not need to end. The old man's thoughts drifted, not in a hurry, not chasing anything. One by one, they softened and passed, like clouds dissolving into the dark sky. Nothing needed to be solved. Nothing needed attention. The air felt smooth against his skin. Cool, but comfortable. Safe. Each breath carried a sense of quiet reassurance, as if the night itself was watching over him. Somewhere far away, the world continued. But here, in this moment, there was only rest, only calm, only the simple comfort of being. His eyelids grew heavy, not forced, not rushed, just naturally ready. The kind of heaviness that feels kind and familiar. The ground supported the bench. The bench supported his body. The earth supported everything. Nothing was floating. Nothing was uncertain. Everything was held. The night remained exactly as it was, soft, steady, and peaceful. And in that stillness, rest came easily.